With us today, I have Lisa Concepcion. Lisa, could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Hi. Thank you for having me on your summit. First
Oh,
of all, this is going to
absolutely.
be awesome. So, I am Lisa Concepcion. I'm a certified professional love life strategist, coach, dating and relationship expert. So, yeah, I'm often tapped to lend commentary to places like Cosmopolitan Magazine, Bustle. You'll see all that detail in my little fun show notes at the end of your interview profile. But yeah, I've been coaching since 2019. I became a certified coach in 2017, but I always say it's not official until you're only coaching full time, right? It's
Right.
like not
Right.
really official. So I give
Yeah.
2019 as that date. That's when my business was truly a coaching business. And I love it. I love the people that I meet. I typically help people from anything from healing codependency, which I was very codependent. We'll get into that in our interview, of course. Reinventing themselves after they leave a toxic relationship, which, if anybody listening has done, kudos to you because that is life changing for
Right.
sure. And also people who are in relationships, couples who are struggling with communication, slipped into bad habits, might be on that hamster wheel of, wake up, go to work, come back,
Right.
eat, crash on the couch, and repeat tomorrow, right? Like it's the hamster wheel existence. And
Right.
married or not, if you get on that, it's a kind of a, not a very fulfilling way to live. So I help people address what is at the root of what is driving them, their decisions, their outcomes in life. I use a lot of law of attraction principles and law of vibration. I'm also an energy leadership master practitioner. So I like to get a little funky with energy and vibe. Big fan of Abraham Hicks and Bob Proctor and Joseph Rodriguez, those guys that talk about
Oh, yeah.
you can be, do, have whatever you want, right?
Yeah.
So I take all that, I apply it to the fun exploration of oneself, developing in self love, tapping into really your own unique power that we all have so that you can change your life. You can create something new and amazing.
Wow. So tell me, why do smart people make stupid decisions when it comes to love?
Look at you right out the gate. Okay. So, yeah, like this is a great question because, like, most of the people out there, okay, like they're living their lives, they're working, they have careers, they're doing well for themselves. But yet, when it comes to relationships, they struggle or they repeat patterns and they don't know why they make these silly decisions. Simple things like having weak boundaries. You go on a date,
Right.
you're like, yeah, I don't know if I like this person. I don't know if they're for me. But yet 4 hours later, you're like, why is this person in my house and even in my space or even in my bed? Right. Like
Right.
it's that. Right. So I sought out to get people help in understanding why. And furthermore, what version, wounded version of them is really calling the shots and making the moves in the category of relationship. So the reason and the answer is people are wounded, right? So they're
Right.
making decisions. They're very smart people in aspects of their
Right.
life. But when it comes to
Oh, yeah.
relationships, they're making bad decisions, if to label good and bad for the purposes of this conversation. Um, Decisions that won't serve them in the long run because they're making them from a wounded place. But
Right.
once you connect to that wounded version of you and love them, truly learn how to love them and nurture them, and if necessary, discipline them, right? That's a big part of
Right.
it, the
Oh,
self
yeah.
discipline part. Then you can take the lead and protect them fiercely and love them and cherish them and nurture them. This way, they're not the ones making the decisions anymore. You are. So it's a much more empowered way of going out there and dating from a healthy place, not a perfect place, because that is not going to be, but from a healthy place, a place where there is self reflection and there is self awareness in that who's calling the shots, right? If I'm going on a date and I'm trying to date to attract a man to marry me, then I
Mhm.
will be dating as a wife. I will
Right.
embody the energy of wife and bring that to the world. Therefore, I probably will not attract people who are users, who are takers, who are going to violate boundaries. I just won't, because I'm not an energetic match to them. So a lot of this happens with energy, understanding where your set point is. That's
Yeah.
often based upon your language and your view of the world and the behaviors that you have. But a lot of that is connected to that wounded version of you. Once you heal those wounds, then you have a whole new fresh perspective. Your language changes, your behavior changes. You start to speak of things positively instead of negatively. You start to
Right.
focus more on what's wanted as opposed to what's lacking. And then you manifest what you want. You have a quantum leap, as I did in 2021. I had a quantum leap, which you could get into too.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're no longer doing the same things you were doing because you're not coming from that wounded place. So you're shifting like your behavior, all of it. That's amazing. I
Yeah,
love
and
that
it's
you work
also
on that.
it's very, and this is like the word, I guess, for like everybody listening to, not just me, but everybody that you have featured on this awesome summit. Integration, right? Everybody out there, they want to help themselves. They want to read the books. They want to go to the seminars.
Right.
I've done
Oh
it.
yeah.
I've thrown down a whole lot of money on getting me good with me.
Me too.
And though, how many times though can people relate to this, where they read a book, they spend a month reading a book, but then they close the book and they go back off to the same behaviors again?
Right.
Or they
Exactly.
go to a seminar and they spend a boatload of money going to a seminar and they feel great and they leave it and it's awesome. And then Monday comes and they're right back to the same thing again. So integration is taking information, actually applying it with new agreements and new
Right.
behaviors to your life so
Mhm.
that transformation can happen. So I always say to my coaches, like, anything that you're listening to, a podcast, anything you're putting your time on for your own betterment, ask yourself, how am I going to apply this in my life effective immediately? What new agreements will I make with myself now that I have this new information? And then you do it and you start to
Right.
be like, oh my God, like I listened to an hour-long podcast in my car. I made 3 new agreements with myself. I wrote them down on a post-it note, hung them where I brushed my teeth, run them
Right.
every day for a week. And now I have new behaviors, new agreements, I don't do these things anymore. And now I do these things instead. And it can be applied to any aspect of your life: diet, love, relationships, how you date, how you interact with family, money. Those are just integrative principles that help you
Mhm.
apply all the good effort that you're doing, right? Anybody
Right.
listening to this, you genuinely want change for yourself. That's why you're tuning into
Right.
Miss Carla and all these great conversations she's having.
Right.
You want to get your little notebook out and write down everything as much as you can get. I invite you to, when that's done, go over with a highlighter pen and be like, now that I know this, highlighted in pink,
Right.
I'm going to do this. I'm going to apply it in this way. And it'll be transformative.
That's amazing. And how does one go about healing codependency?
Wow. So codependency is like this ginormous wad of ick that just makes people incapable of true core soul level happiness,
Right.
because they have this false belief that they were trained to believe. It's a brainwashing, in effect,
Right.
where all their worthiness, love, adoration, affirmation, validation comes from outside the self.
Right.
So you have a lot of people pleasers. You have a lot of acquiescent people that inside they're stewing and boiling because,
Oh,
yet
yeah.
again, my sister made me do the holidays. She never does it. It's always me, and I don't even want to do it, but I can't say anything. So it's like eating you up, right? That's just a simple
Exactly.
example, but there could be other ways, right?
Right.
And it can happen at the workplace. It's a very common thing at the workplace, especially now, toxic workplace relationships. So um, that whole thing of codependency and how to heal it, for me, there are many modalities. I've dabbled in a bunch, but I really got the most effective change from shadow work and inner bonding work. Shadow work is really looking at yourself, looking at what it is you do, becoming very mindful and very confronting, even, of the way you show up in different situations in
Right.
your life.
Right.
And the more you start to understand that that's coming from a wounded place, those shadow selves, you can start to heal them. Once you recognize them through the shadow work, you can then go to heal them by what worked for me was inner bonding / inner child work. So it looked at, wow, why do I like flip out on these particular topics? Well, because of this, this, and this. Oh, well, when did that start? Oh, when you were 8. Oh, so that's your wounded little 8-year-old who's running the show every time you get in a car and you're flipping out at people and you're opening the moonroof, flipping them a bird. That's an 8-year-old you who didn't have her anger needs met. She wasn't heard. She was mad. Whatever happened at school, her parents didn't let her express anger. She was supposed to be cute girl, not, you know, loud, not upset. She just had to go with the flow, go play in your room and be out of the way. So codependency often happens when children are taught to bury their emotions, not speak their truth, and to be good. Being good is like the big voice in the head of the codependent. I have to be good.
Right.
If I confront this person and say, I didn't like what you said, no, can't do that. It would
No.
upset them too much.
Yeah.
So what ends up happening with the codependent often is you build like Vesuvius, and then you explode like everyone in your way is rapid fire, AR-15 spray
Oh yeah.
bullets. Like it's insane, right? And that destroys marriages. It destroys jobs. It destroys, key friendships, opportunities with,
Oh yeah.
any kind, it's very self-sabotaging, right? But, this is the thing. This is the journey of the codependent, is to understand that your goodness and your worthiness especially does not come from people. It comes from your creator. So what's beautiful, at least about my journey of my return to myself and my healing of my own codependency, it helped me coach people and glorify God in the process, glorify the creator, not necessarily religion, because I don't deal with that, but
Right.
the direct, intimate, loving, unconditional nourishment from that which creates all of living things, all, right? The creator of all that is, where we're all connected by. So that in itself is a really juicy way of, and effective. I mean, it's amazing to be in a coaching session and remind people every single time we get on, you're loved unconditionally, not because your mom says so, but because your mom is going to die. No one's getting out of here alive, honey. So when these people leave, what happens? You're not worthy anymore. And they're like, I never thought of it that way. It's like, yeah, that's what I like to believe, that that's what we're here to figure out, right? Where our worthiness comes from, where our enoughness comes from. We are enough. We're put
Yes.
here as a little baby and we're enough. And we know this. That's why we can't speak for a while, because we're very connected to the divine. We're very
Right.
connected. When we're little babies,
Yep.
oh, the things that we can tell, the wisdom we can share from the infinite and
Oh
bringing it
yeah.
right in.
I
You're
agree.
just here. You just got here 3 months ago. Could you imagine if a 3-month-old baby can talk? They would tell truth about what's up in this world in an instant. But God made it so it's like, no, no, no. This baby has to mix it up with their parents for 5 years. And then we made it so that the arena of good versus evil on the planet, right?
Mhm.
They go to school at 5. That arena starts to claim them. They have to work it out. They have to free will, right? You make
Right.
arrangements. Then you start to see things happening in your family, and it imprints upon you, and you get
Exactly.
traumatized. And this is the journey, right? We're here to mix it up and you know launch desires and be like, I want this now, and I'll never raise my kids this way, and all that, right? Because of experience, we
Yes,
learn.
exactly.
And yet we judge ourselves, right?
Yes, we do.
Codependence, major judgment, harsh critics of the self, codependence,
Oh,
because
oh yes.
that's all we learned,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So yeah,
And
and then the tricky thing too with the codependency is, like, even if you get out of that without the piece of deeply knowing that, like, yeah, my worthiness isn't about, like, that's nice, thank you, you think I'm pretty and you think I'm smart and nice, and that's wonderful, thank you, you could appreciate it, but you don't. Once healed from codependency, you no longer need that
right.
to feel worthy. You wake up knowing you are, and that's just like the little baby again. You return to that.
Right.
You return to that knowingness of, I'm good. I'm here. I wake up. I have blood flowing in my veins. I didn't have to do anything or impress anybody to receive that. It just is. So, and I'm spinning on a rock in the middle of nothing. and I don't fly off. I don't do anything for gravity to happen. I don't, it happens because I'm worthy. It happens because I'm here. So it's a very broad approach to getting into what your worthiness is. But I find that in the baby steps of beginning to heal codependency, gratitude is so necessary and important. And to just remain in that practice of gratitude. So for me, I used to take my Post-it notes. I had a big long mirror, in my
Uh-huh.
bathroom at the
Right.
time in my little apartment in Miami. And the whole thing was writing down 3 things a day that I was grateful for, sticking them on the Post-it thing, and at the end of the week, ripping them off and starting again. It was just a
Uh-huh.
fun little, exercise that I did to remind myself of how worthy I was, how many things I had to be so grateful for, many of which I didn't have to do anything to receive. So it was like, I live in Miami, Florida at the time. Right now I live in I'm building a house in Sarasota, but Florida, right? I grew up New York, right? All the people out there, shout out Brooklyn, New York accent. I feel you. I love you, right? Jersey, the whole thing. So I did that life my whole half of my life, till 39 years old. And then I moved because I
Mhm.
was getting separated from my husband, and I had narcissistic mother, emotionally detached father, plus step parents, plus their families. Like there was, and I was an only child. There was a lot of acquiescence, a lot of adaptation to moods. This is all the
Oh
stuff
yeah.
that codependents can relate to,
Oh yes.
where you can size up a room and know who's upset and who's what and how to navigate for your own
Yes.
survival. There's a lot of attunement, there's a lot of anticipation, eggshell walking. So yeah, I mean, it creates a really interesting dynamic once you start to enter relationships as an adult, as a young adult. Get very obsessed with love, very obsessed with that feeling of being wanted and needed and enough.
Right.
And it's an external hit. It's like drugs. You get addicted to people very
Right.
easily when you're codependent.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I love that you use the gratitude for worthiness because people talk about gratitude all the time, but they don't necessarily tell you like what it brings to your life. So that's amazing. And your worthiness, having that is so freeing to know that is with you. And I love that that's one of the things that you bring to people. So what are some common mistakes people make in relationships?
Well, one common mistake that I made is I call it the moving in the new couch before removing the old couch, which is overlapping or lily pad jumping from relationship to relationship without doing the proper processing of that relationship first and truly getting over somebody.
Right.
And you see the memes and things of the best way to get over somebody is to get under somebody else. No, not at all. The best way to get over somebody is to transform the love that you have from that for them, and make it more about, this is a journey. This person entered my life at mile marker 101 and stayed until mile marker 208, and they blow out and my car keeps going on my journey.
Right.
Doesn't end. The journey doesn't end because somebody went off the off ramp. You're still on your highway. You're still on your path of your life. And guess what? More people are going to jump on that highway and they're going to ride with you. Some of them will ride you the whole way. Some of them are not meant for that. But you have your car. You are on your path. No one can take that away from you no matter what. Right. So the biggest mistakes are that it's, wanting the past to be something different and not reaching acceptance that keeps you very stuck. That's always a thing in relationships. Staying too long is a common codependent relationship mistake where it's not good for you. But again, that wounded version of you, they're in the relationship because it reminds them of their mommy. It reminds them of their dad. It reminds them of their sibling dynamics, the chaos, like, the avoidance. Like I had to prove that I was worthy as a kid. So I picked a guy who was avoidant
Right.
so I can prove my worthiness again. So it's these repetitive patterns, and not having boundaries is another huge codependency mistake. Boundaries where it's, when do you have sex, right? When do you believe that it's appropriate to have this person meet your family. You know, these simple things that become new agreements, which leads to another mistake. Dating without and being in a relationship without solid agreements to self. That's the foundation for all boundaries. Once you make agreements with yourself of what you
Mhm.
will and will not do, from there you can have your solid boundaries and have the empowerment to honor yourself. I mean, boundaries, that's all it is. It's self honoring. And to the degree by which we honor ourselves and adhere to our boundaries is the degree by which we feel most empowered. And we attract really good people in our lives, not people who are going to exploit us because they can sense that we're
Oh,
codependent. So these predatory narcissist types love, you know, the wounded doves because
oh
they
yes.
can make our
Oh
life
yes.
so great, right? Yeah. When
Exactly.
you know that, you're like, no, I'm good, thanks. Right? Like, are you love bombing me? Like you're trying to call me 1,000 times a day. Like, what's up with that? What the, you come at a narcissist with that kind of conversation, they're going to leave you in two
Right.
seconds and good. Bye.
Yeah.
But you know,
Exactly.
when you have that healthy love and you can recognize, no, this person's just genuinely interested and attentive and it's nice, right? They're not bombarding me to have that essence of control and manipulation. They're just genuinely interested. And I
Right.
help people in the coaching because the codependency thing, they have a lot of struggle with self trust, rightfully so. I mean, anybody going through that, Lord knows I had to rebuild my ability to self trust, my ability to make
Yes.
agreements for myself and even consider myself. So a lot of times codependents, they were trained as little, you don't consider yourself. If you're
Right.
mad, get over it. If you're hungry, get over it.
Exactly.
Right? Mom's going to get her teeth cleaned. So you have to sit politely and color for an hour and a half while mom gets her teeth cleaned in the lobby, talking to some stranger, talking to some lady, and you're bored. And it's like, why couldn't you just leave me with my aunt? Why could, oh, because she lives too far. It's like everything is for them, never for
Right.
you, never,
Right.
never factoring your own needs. So it teaches you not to factor in your own needs either. So
Right.
when you finally go through this process of healing codependency, it's like literally stepping foot on another planet. You're like, I'm sorry, what? I'm allowed to ask, how do I feel and what do I
Right.
need? Really? Like when my sister calls me and says, hi, can you come over and help me move furniture because I'm painting the wall? I don't have to say, yes, I'll get there at 6 a.m. and I'll bring the paint and food. And what else do you need? What do you need? Need.
Right. Right.
I'll give, because
Exactly.
that's what makes me good in your eyes. No, could you believe? It's like walking on another planet. You're like, oh my God, you mean I don't have to wake up because society says I have to wake up? I can actually lay in bed until 10 in the morning and like, you know, meditate and listen to music and chill with my dog in bed because it's raining out and I don't feel like getting up without that guilt, the guilt
Right.
of like mom voice, lazy, lazy, time to wake up, sleepy, sleepy. The life is gonna pass you by. Like, really? I'm like feeling like a cold's coming on. I don't really feel like getting out of bed.
Right.
Right. And now you know how to nurture yourself, right? You know how to be like, no, I'm gonna give myself what I need. I deserve it. I love myself. I care for myself. And if, you know, I'm feeling a little throat itchy and I'm a little drag assy, I'm going to lay in bed and get some rest.
Right.
But, you know, that wasn't allowed when you're a little kid and your, you know, parents weren't attentive to your needs. It was like, oh, what are you getting, a cough? Like, sorry, I'm sorry. Sorry, I'm 8. I'm sorry, I'm 8. And I was playing with friends and I guess I caught a little bugger. Sorry.
Right. Right.
Right? Make it your fault, right? It's your fault. Now you're sick. What are you, sick? Instead of, you know, I had to do all the inner child work to like re-care for myself the way I wish I was parented as a child. So in that
Right.
example, you know, let's say I cough and I'm 8, my mother starts, what do you have, a cold now? Great. That's all we need is for you to come down with strep. Okay. Instead of that, it becomes, my love, you have a cough? How do you feel? Does it hurt you? Yeah, a little. It's scratchy. What do you need, my love? I'll make you whatever you want. I think some
Right.
honey tea would be good. Yeah. What about some chicken soup? Yeah, I love chicken soup. All right, I'm going to make you that. We're going to stay in today. We're going to like, what do you want to do today? I want to watch movies. All right, we're going to camp out on couch. We're going to prevent this cold from happening. I also have some of those yummy vitamin C things you like in the echinacea. We'll do all that. and then see how you feel in a couple of hours. Good. I know, but I made that commitment to meet my friends for sushi later. And don't worry, my love, they'll understand. I'm going to send a text to them and say, hey, I may or may not be joining you tonight. I'm feeling like I might be getting a little something and I don't want to give it to the gang. So I'm going to excuse us from that. Good. Okay. I'm not in trouble. You're not in trouble. I can be sick. You can be sick. It's allowed. And that's it. And then guess what happens? You end up feeling great because you don't have the anxiety. You end up kicking a cold in a day and a half instead of a week.
Right.
Because you got rid of all the body, the somatic, right? I feel it in my stomach when I get a cold because my mother yelled at me for, making her
Right.
life complicated because she had to take me to a doctor or something. Like it's and a lot of it is tonality. When I
Oh,
coach with people with deep codependency, they're hypersensitive to the tone that
oh
people
yes.
take with them,
Oh yes.
right? And they are their attunement is very, very high, so they take things very personally.
Oh yes.
And they don't mean it, right? They don't know why they're doing this. But then,
No.
someone like me comes up and I'm like, girl, talk to me about when you were 8. Talk to me about when you were 14. Like, tell me about the girls that made fun of you on the bus when your boobs grew before everybody else's. And like, you were that girl. Like, let's talk about her. We got to get her out of there. We got to
Right.
go find her, get her out of there, and sit her down and tell her she's loved, period, unequivocally, forever. And then,
Right.
people are like, oh my God. Yeah. And it becomes like a really beautiful process because people release a lot because they were never told those things and they needed to hear it so much. So, like,
Yes.
oftentimes when I teach the inner bonding process that I learned, um, and how to like really have that self communication, which is super loving and kind, compassionate, all of that, I demonstrate it on them and I take them through the actual process of it.
Well,
I'm their Sherpa and I'm escorting them through it. So I'll say things like, all right, where are we right now? And my client will be like, all right, so I'm 12. I'm in my room and I just got my period. And I'm like, oh, big day. Okay. So what happened? Well, my mother laid into me with all this guilt about now you're going to be a whore and you're going to sleep with guys. And she made men the enemy. And I couldn't understand because she was married to my dad for so long. And I don't get what she's saying. It was confusing. It made me bad to even think of my body and whatever. And so I go, so what did you feel you needed from your mom at that time? And they say, well, I was scared. I was 12. I just got my period. I didn't want to bleed all over school. I didn't know anything of like, what do I do? And it wasn't explained to me. I kind of had to get with my friends and learn it myself. All it was bad. So I said, okay, well, how about you and I go in your 12-year-old self's room, sit on our bed, hang out, listen to some music, and tell her with love and kindness that there's nothing wrong with her and that she's not going to be a whore and that she is a lovely lady, young lady stepping into womanhood. And this is an exciting, beautiful time. Yes, there'll be, then get into the health of it, cramps and feeling headaches and things. And I will be here to take care of you. I love you. This is a big deal in your life. And I support you and love you unconditionally through it. You cannot do anything wrong in this. And she was crying.
oh
She's
yeah.
like, oh my God, nobody ever said that I wasn't wrong or bad or, the words that were thrown at me. I'm a little girl. And that was what I think what was the trigger for her to cry was, my beautiful girl, you are 12. It doesn't matter if your body and your biology is behaving as a woman, your emotions and your mind are 12. And it's
Right.
my job to protect you. It's my job to help you step into now this new version of you, a young woman with period. That's it. And we're going to do this and you're going to be fine. And I'm going to teach you everything you need to know about the wings and how they stick and all of that. And you're going to pick
Right.
out new panties and we're going to have fun and we're going to shop. It's going to be wonderful. You make it like we can bond over this
Right.
deeply. And she was like, that was a major thing. She goes, I sat in my room and cried because I knew my dad was coming home and that he'd find out. And this is what these people were thinking of me. And we had to flip that programming in the subconscious because
Mhm.
naturally, if you had that happen, as this
Yeah.
woman did, imagine how that affects what she thinks men think of her
Right. Exactly.
and how she now has to prove that she's this perfect lady and fighting constantly with her true self of wanting to explore her body, wanting to enjoy sex, wanting to have a very close, intimate friendship type relationship with her husband. And, you know, can't do it because she can't even like get a boyfriend for more than 6 months before all these triggers come out.
Right.
So it really, it manifests itself in many different ways, codependency. It's very, very challenging. It, can manifest itself in money management, where now, you feel like almost regressed a little bit, where it's too daunting and overwhelming
Right.
to manage your finances. Um, Conversely, it could be a thing of proving worthiness. So you become obsessed with money because it's like, oh, it's not a person. Money can't hate me. The
Right.
more I make, the better I feel. So I'm just going to chase achievement. So there's a lot of
Right.
that.
Right.
It's a very deep thing, codependency. But I tell you what, once handled, because I don't believe it's something that, I mean, I might consider like, yeah, you can cure yourself of it. I think it's more of you cure yourself of it to a point and then you maintain it. Just no different than any other addiction, because it's kind of
Yes.
like same area of your brain that like, except
Oh, it is. Yeah.
booze or shopping, it's people, it's affirmation, it's, worthiness outside the self.
Right, right. And that's, I love that you like teach them how to nurture themselves and that you're like nurturing through that because that's really when the original thing happened, like her being 12, like it wasn't nurturing. And so the nurturing is like not a safe thing and that you go back and you like almost rewrite that whole story for her and you get the whole thing and it really brings in the body and the mind and the spirit into all this stuff and that's
Absolutely.
super beautiful like because people don't think about the fact that your relationships really it's so many things it's not just like communication and all the stuff that we used to get taught that oh if you're this way or people pleasers so I love that you bring all of that in that's magical. That's
It's
magical.
a very divinely inspired interaction. Like I look at it like I am channeling higher sources of energies. They're in the ether of nothingness, but I'll hear them say, do this with her, ask her this. Oh, here's what she needs. And I'm just like, okay, cool. Like, thank you. And then I'll say, hey, I'm inspired to share this with you. Let me see, like, let me know how it lands for you. And I'll like, share a book or I'll share a podcast or I'll share a piece of content or a modality. And they'll be like, oh my God, that's cool. I'm totally gonna check that out. Right. Like you can know when it hits with people.
Mhm. Oh, yeah.
So I always look at the coaching dynamic as it's just very interpersonal.
Mhm.
So like I'm as good as a coach as the person is open to receive.
Right.
If a person is truly ready to confront the things in themselves that need healing, then they're going to get a lot out of the experience. And I like to make it fun. I like to almost mimic the way I had to go through my process to keep it interesting, entertaining, even soft. There's a lot of movement that had to happen from a very masculine survival, fight or flight, get stuff done, prove my worth by how accomplished I am type of thing. And that's why in prior to the interview, I had even most recently, this is how this is. This is why it's a constant work on self. I switched my subconscious into believing and stepping into a version of myself who does not work. I do not work. I think there's a weird societal slave kind of vibe that goes with the word work. And I never liked it. So I shifted it. I find it very masculine. So I shifted it as I started to shift into more of like a feminine energy, especially
Mhm.
in my business. And also how I coach my clients, super nurturing. I shifted it to I no longer work, I create and I serve. I create and I serve. And the more I create and serve, the more people I meet, the more people I help. And then it's so fun. And it's like you never know who you meet when. And it just raises the vibration of the planet, right? If I'm a little
Right.
drop in the
Exactly.
ocean of many other people dropping in the ocean, working on themselves, helping others work on themselves, then we elevate the consciousness of the planet. So I started to get much more into like this, oh my God, I'm connected to it all. And that's why I can channel things for my clients. And I can sometimes, and I'm actually meeting with a mediumship coach who teaches people who think that they can make these connections to really get deeper in it
Hmm.
so they can open themselves up to it and help people further. Because I was like, listen, sometimes I'm in a coaching session and I'll be like, did you just have like someone close to you pass away? And the coach, the client's like, yeah, like my grandmother, she was the last living grandmother, last living grandparent. She died like 3 months ago. Yeah. So she's looking out for you. And when you're done with all this with me, she's the one who's going to bring you your person. Just so you know, if you
Right.
feel grandma vibes, go on that date, right? Like, go where grandma's telling you to go because she's very interested in you in this aspect of your life right now. I don't know if babies are involved. I don't know what goes on, but that's the thing. Don't ask me how that just came, but that's for you. And she's like, thank you for that. Like, I wondered about my grandma this the other day, and a song came on, and I'm like, yeah, good. Because that's what that is.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah. And we all have that. We
Oh
all
yeah,
do. We all have it, and that's powerful.
it
But
is.
I kind of, I'm in the 3D still on that
Right.
topic. So I have that noise about Lisa, don't mess with that. That's black magic. Don't mess with that. Don't do that. You're gonna open a portal. You're gonna it's all the fear, right? The
Right.
fear.
Right.
But I choose as everything, especially more so now than ever, not to be codependent
Mm.
and say, all right, fear equals lack of information. Fear
Yes.
equals I don't have all the information. So I'm going to research this. I'm going to dive into this and see. And if it hits me right, I'll do it. If I don't, whatever. It's just something else to learn. It's all good.
Yeah. Excited to hear how you go. I was actually on that one 8 months ago, the same kind of stuff. So I can't wait to hear how it goes for you. So
Oh, wow. Okay.
yeah,
Oh, my
yeah,
gosh. Interesting.
yeah. So that's exciting. I can't wait to hear how it goes for you. So how does one attract high quality people once they've done the work and the mindset shift?
Ooh, well, here's the wonder in all of this. They pop out of everywhere. You just live your life joyously with no attachment to the outcome of wanting to be in a relationship. You're already in a relationship, the one with yourself, the one with your creator. You just go out, live your life joyously, give yourself what you need based on how you feel, and you can be filling your car with gas and your person can show up. It really is about the energy you're vibing at, and that's why I like this question because everybody wants to lean in and get their notes like a specific method of go to Home Depot between 12 and 4 on a Sunday and you'll meet your guy. Like, no, you can. But if you're going with the energy of, is he here? Or is she here? Is he here? Is she here? That's going to repel it. But when you're like, you know what? I feel inspired to go check out this art exhibit. It just seems cool. It popped up in my feed. It's $20. I'm going to go and it's cool and it's abstract art and it's my jam and I like it. I'm just going to see what's there. And you know what, beforehand there's a cute restaurant that I like to go to that's next to that art gallery. I'm going to go there for my favorite salad. Oh my god, delicious, and the fresh lemonade. I'm in. Let's do it. Horses cannot stop me from doing this Saturday.
Right.
Done. And you go and you're in your vibe and you feel amazing and you're doing your art thing and whatever, and then you go somewhere in the shop for the museum thing, the art gallery, you want to buy a little card or something, and then bam, you meet your person. And it's literally that. Like I met my husband that way. In that energy, I met my husband. So very inspiring story. In 2021, I had a quantum leap. It started in 2020. It started at COVID. And it culminated within a year and a half. I met, got engaged, and found land to build a dream house within not even a year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, hardcore. So I ended a relationship that was 4.5 years, beautiful relationship, served an amazing purpose in my life. It was the first relationship serious after getting divorced and
Mhm.
healing.
Right.
So I had taken time to heal. This was my first relationship. I call it the ta-da relationship because it's the one that shows, damn, you really did the work. This is the manifestation of that. So off I go with this relationship. Beautiful time, 4.5 years. I evolved and grew in that relationship to a point where I wanted to be more. I wanted to build something more. I wanted to be married. I got deeper into my faith. I wanted to, and married in the spiritual sense of the word, like that whole connection with somebody in service to
Right.
God. But I told him this and I said, I will never betray you. I will never do anything shady, but I will want to be more than your girlfriend up the street. And when I had enough of that, I will let you know. That's it. And he went off and did his thinking and it wasn't there. It wasn't the future of that wasn't going to be for us. So I end the relationship in 2020. I'm also at the same time during COVID called to move to a different part of the state. So I do that move. I know no one in the city. I'm just like, whatever, though. I have like social media. I can meet people, no problem.
Right.
So no fear in that. Start setting up. Love my apartment that I lived in. Loved it. I had a center island for like the first time in my life. It was just amazing. I bought stools. I set it up so cute. Dog was happy, had ceiling fans in every room.
Oh.
Dog's like flipped upside down, laying in the breeze. I'm
I love
playing
it.
like meditation music, sound frequencies and stuff, burning incense, crystals, like all of it, right? Feeling
Right.
my little sanctuary. I loved it. And in that feeling, in that peace, I was able to process that past relationship, dated casually, nothing really stuck, but I was dating people that were showing me where I was going next and putting more clarity about what I wanted in a partner. And in June, so this was 8 months after I ended that subsequent relationship, I met because I was feeling great and having fun and living
Right.
life and doing my thing. I was invited to a friend's dinner party. So she says, Lise, I want you to be at my table. I'm celebrating my 57th birthday. I'm like, I'm going to go. They have linguine white clam sauce. I am completely going to your party. And she's like, great. You're going to sit on my side of the table. I'm like, yes, I already know what I'm going to get you. I went shopping for her. I had all good, happy, positive vibes about this party. I picked out an outfit. I was all ready to go. I walk in, I see this table, 12 people. I go around, introduce myself to everybody, one of whom was my husband. Wasn't my husband then, but became my husband. So said hello, sat down, ate my linguine white clammy, loved life, laughing, cheers, celebration, all good. Now food is done. People get up, start mingling, right? Because it's like a dinner party lounge and it's kind of vibe. So we're talking, and in out of nowhere, this man appears from the other side of the table, just talking funny things about comedian Sebastian Maniscalco. And I'm like, oh my God, I love Sebastian. It's hilarious and whatever. And the other woman didn't hear of him, didn't know who he was. So immediately I start chatting, going back and forth. He's like, oh, I hear your accent. Are you from the Northeast? I am. So am I. Where are you from? All that. Hit it off, talked for 3 hours, exchanged numbers,
Wow.
walks to my car, pays, the front, pays for my valet, super gentleman, puts me in my car. And I was like, all right, let's see where this goes. And I was like, totally not attached to any of it. It was like, that was a really nice man. And that's awesome. And like, hey, we'll see if he calls me, he calls me. If he doesn't, he doesn't. Like, life is going to be great no matter what.
Right.
And not that non attachment is what reeled him in even more because the following day I wake up and 3 hours later I'm doing laundry and whatever. It's a Sunday afternoon, right? Sunday, you're doing your laundry, you're doing your things. I get this text and it's from him, and he says, here's how this is going to go. I don't do any games. I'm not into this dating paradigm of you have to wait, these dating rules, you have to wait days and days to reach out to a woman that you meet. I loved our conversation last night. I'd love to see you again. Let me know what your schedule is. I want to take you to dinner. Done. So I read the message like 5 times. I'm like, oh my God, I love this. So I write him back and I put very simply, I like your style. I can be available Wednesday or Friday. But if you don't want to wait that long, I can be ready by 6:30 tonight. Done. Like this guy was on it, right? And he was like, I'm gonna call, make reservations. We'll go to, Capitol Grill, whatever. And I said, perfect. That's 20, like 15, 20 minutes from my house. Amazing. I'll see you there. Done. Went there, had another 4 hour conversation. And I was very upfront right from the beginning. I said, you're a I can tell you're a really good guy. And I am a woman of integrity. And so I just want to be clear and upfront that I am dating with the intention of calling in my forever person.
Right.
And I am interested in a God centered marriage. And to that end, I am dating as a wife. So I am very all about let's get to know each other. And I will not be having sex with anyone until I am in love with them. And I am preferably focusing on one person and them focusing on me so that if we go on 4 dates and we realize we're better as friends, then we can actually be friends and
Right.
not have weirdness if we see each other out socially and whatever. So that's pretty much where I'm at. And oh, one last thing, I don't shack up. So even if it's magic and rainbows and we fall in love and it's wonderful, I don't live with anyone until there's a ring involved or a serious commitment or like a path that we know we're both on board with. So figured I'd mention that to you before I order a $50 steak, And he started laughing. He's like, no, I appreciate it. I get where you are. I'm like, yeah, and if you're not at that place, no harm, no foul. I think you're awesome. We're going to be friends no matter what. But I don't like to be inauthentic and like just burying my truth just for a meal. I don't think that's cool. I don't roll like that. It's just bad for the vibe. And he just appreciated it. He was like, well, I am a long-term commitment guy. I've always been in a series of long-term relationships, marriages included. And I said, okay, cool. Where do you find yourself now? And he said, right person. I'm open to whatever God puts me into. That's it. If I'm called to be a husband and I meet my wife, that is what I will be. And I'm like, all right, love that. Let's order. And that was it. And after that, it was, amazing getting to know each other. The courtship was incredible. It was a true old school courtship. At the time, I was 50, he was 55, 56. So now he's 58, I'm 52. We're 6 years apart. And we just went on this immediate journey and just started having fun and talking about our dreams and what we wanted our lives to be like. We were on the same page in so many ways. And we started to look at property and the kind of house we wanted to build together. And like we knew, right? When you know,
Right.
you know. So 4 months after that date or a first meeting, rather, we got engaged. And then people were like, oh my God, like that's crazy and whatever. And I'm like, we're not crazy people. Like, we're going to get married later, right? We just know we want to do this and there's a path and all that. So, yeah, so we got married just this past November 2022. We're concluding our build of our home in the next like 90 days.
Okay.
So, it's 2023 spring. So, if people are listening to this, like by the time you listen to it, I'm probably going to be on a moving truck. But I share this story to give you hope, right? I share this story to take out all that negativity about you can't find true love over age 40. You can't find true love. There are crazy people out there. You can't find true love, men 57, they want to chase 30-year-olds. All this noise, right? Not true. Totally not true. Your person is out there because if you can think of them, they exist. If you can think them up, it can happen.
Right.
You just have to do the work and align with you, and then they slide on into your life when you least expect it. But the key is like being in a high vibration, being not in a low vibration of hopelessness, depression, frustration, lack, but instead be in a vibration, a dominant vibration of hope, optimism, um, little glimmers of joy from time to time. You're allowed, right? And joy could be something as simple as, you know, walking your pet and there's juniper bushes and you walk past them and you smell the beautiful fragrance and you're like, oh, it smells so good. That feeling is joy.
Right.
But because we live in, society that says, $5,000 Gucci bags is joy, people get a little whacked out about where to find their joy,
Right.
and they get into lack, thinking that they can't have joy because they can't afford certain things or they can't live a certain way. And it's like, no, honey, you need to be able to find joy like sitting in a tent eating ramen noodles. You need to be able to be like, I'm joyous with the stuff and I'm joyous without the stuff.
Yeah. So look every day for the joy just that way, no matter what you've got.
Yeah, teeny little joys add up to manifestation. And
Yeah.
that could be, anything in your life. It could be your lover, it could be a great job opportunity, a new career opportunity, whatever it is that you want, you can have it, provided that you are predominantly thinking joyfully as opposed to thinking doom, gloom, awful, this is horrible, all that.
Wow.
And it's a fun journey. I mean, once I get into my moods where I get into the swirl of the doom and gloom, but I know
I know.
how to recognize it and get out of it.
Right. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So how could somebody work with you if they wanted to work with you and just like do all of this amazing work to have a great relationship? What would be the best way they could get into contact with you or see the stuff you have on social media, that kind of stuff? What's the best way to contact you?
So the best way to contact me is through my website. It's lovequestcoaching.com, lovequestcoaching.com. And there you will see a picture of me so you know it's really me. And you'll see a button that can have you schedule a session with me, or you can take a free Love Life assessment, which is pretty cool. And that's actually the gift that I'm offering too, because you could find that there very easily. I made it a gift because my love language is gifts and words of affirmation, common of many codependents. So the gift is you do a love life assessment. It's a bunch of fun questions that really help you go inward and think of what's up and what your patterns are and the thing that you want to resolve.
Right.
And then I read through it and I return to you on email with a very detailed assessment. And you get to keep it, print it out, take a highlighter pen to it, whatever. And then from there, we can choose either to work together on a session to go deeper into everything that your assessment provided, or you take the assessment and you make your changes yourself and whatever. So there's that. And then on social media, I am at Lisa the Love Coach on Instagram. Facebook, you can just find Lisa Concepcion and you'll see, all kinds of stuff. I have a Facebook group also called the Self Love Club. So you can find that and you search on groups in Facebook. And TikTok, it's at Lisa the Love Coach 1A. There you go.
Amazing. Like, thank you for all that you shared today. Like, people are going to go away from this with so much, like, wow,
I hope
you,
so, because
yeah,
people come on summits and they're like, dude, I want to like learn something. I've been, this is like an hour of someone's time, right? So you don't get time back. So
right,
you want to make it where you're serving people, you're giving them actual, like, here's something that you can do because you heard me on a podcast. Like now, shut it
right.
off and go get your little post-its and be grateful.
Yeah.
Like one little thing, one little thing that's going to set you forward. Do that.
Okay. That's exactly what I was going to ask. So the do your grateful post-its every day. And you said 3 a day was what the number was for you that you
Yeah,
did on
so
your
I would
mirror?
take one post-it and I would write three things quick that came to my head that I was grateful for. And I'd stick it on my mirror where I brushed my teeth. And then at night, I would read it and be like, I'm grateful for this, I'm grateful for that. Great. Next day, do another one. Next day, do it. Some people did it in the morning, some people did it at the end of the day, whatever you're called to do. But that was a fun little technique. Oh, and another one that helped my quantum leap happen. Um, was going around my physical space and thanking my space and thanking the things in my space.
Okay.
So I would hold my refrigerator. I'd put my hands on it. I'd be like, this is my refrigerator. And in it, I am so grateful for all the food that nourishes my body. There's always food in my fridge. I always have sweet fruit to eat. I always have food. And then I'd move on to kitchen, flick the water faucet and say, this is running water. I am so grateful that I live where there is running water. There is a kid right now in Africa somewhere walking 3 miles to get a bucket of water that his entire village has to share. And I get to flick this and have running water whenever I want. I am abundant. I am blessed. I am lucky. So that is the mindset to get into to advance you quick. I mean, in a year and a half, I'm legit building from a 1 bedroom apartment in South Beach, Miami. In 3 years, a dream house that I wrote on a napkin in 2011. Like, this house is becoming. And I had to become the person who was a vibrational match to the life, the husband, the everything now. And there's even a future me that I have to now go on a journey and evolve
Right.
into. So we're always evolving, we're always growing. Loss happens, gains happen, everything's happening to serve us. And so, like, I'm hopeful that Carla, your people, I don't know who's going to listen to this, but I hope that it finds them right in the moment that they need it, that they are inspired by it, that they take loving, kind action for themselves, and they just embrace peace and let them cultivate peace in their life. And from there, all else will follow.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And I love that you going around and just seeing what you really have because we can be very like blinders on, just taking for granted what all we have. So that's beautiful. Wow. Thank you for those. And thank you for being on today. It was really wonderful getting to talk with you and getting to hear all that you have to share and learning from you. I think we've all learned lots of stuff and um it'll change lives. So thank you so much.
That's the plan.
And
Thank you
yeah,
so much. This was great.
yeah, my pleasure.